Next piece in line is the handle cranks, actually the little ball handles. This is a 187 diameter. It's about 3.5 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 4.5 millimeters in the center. That's about 3 millimeters on this side and about 3.5 millimeters on this other side. I'm going to leave it attached to the bar stock so I can broach it and put these flats on it all in one operation. Come back, then I'll finish the undercuts, and we'll go from there. The major diameters of these two round features are completed in a previous operation, and the leading edge rounds are put on with a form tool. Those are two different sizes. To save myself a little filing time down the road, I am chamfering the back side of each of these. A secondary tool is brought in for the other chamfer, and that diameter adjacent to the larger diameter is not finished. So you can see what you're going to get if the file that you choose doesn't have an edge that's safe enough. You will get little digs. Taking a smaller file, I will remove some of those digs, polish them out at a later date. It's a really good idea to not only look at the part as you file it, but look past the part as you file it. You may get a better feel for the actual profile of the feature. The part is currently located in a 5C rotary indexer, and I'm using a 1/4 inch pin, which is actually the broach, to locate the diameters and the features. I just can't get my edge finder in there, and the indicator's just a little overkill. So by using a feeler gauge and moving the pin closer to the part, once the feeler gauge pinches, I'll know that I'm close enough to start my calculations. Once you're close enough, use half the diameter of the workpiece, half the diameter of whatever probe pin that you used, and the thickness of the feeler gauge, and make that offset. Once you've made that offset, move around to the front, do the exact same thing for the spherical feature on the very end of the part. Once the feeler gauge is trapped, move in half the diameter of the pin plus the thickness of the feeler gauge. Half the diameter of this pin, not the part. I'm going to position the X-axis over the center of the small ball, zero my digital again, and for the whole operation, spelled with an H-O-L-E, all I need to do is go from the center of the ball to the center of the larger ball. First operation, though, is put the flats on. And we're going to drill it and broach it before removing the part. If you need more room to measure your part when working closely with a spin indexer like this, rotate the part at 45 degrees, take your measurement. But don't forget to return it to the original index position before continuing with the cut. That's about 2 millimeters across. That's about a 3 millimeter sphere. Let's move on to the bigger one. And I do apologize for the camera angle here. The deflection of the cutter is best brought in from the front towards the back. That way any impact is pushing down on the part. Coming from the back to the front, if it were to scoop, it's going to lift the part up and blow it. So those cuts are started from the front for a reason. Unfortunately, not optimum for the camera angle. Now, for anybody that's taking notes, this backside undercut is not the size. So any flat that's present on that is not a mistake. That is just immaterial. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to put it back in the lathe and I'm going to cut that down to size. And you can tell how round your feature really is by how round that flat comes out. You can see that this one isn't perfectly spherical. There's a little more material in the back than there is in the front. The front's done with a form tool. I need to drill and ream an 0.62½, about 1.5 millimeters. 0.62½, about a 1.5 millimeter hole through the front for press fitting the handle. And this one will get a, I guess, about a 100 thousandths hole in it. And then we're going to broach it to 100 square. That's next. Keep in mind that when you use a broach of a specific size looking for a feature of a specific size and it's positioned at 45 degrees, you're not actually looking to move the table the difference between the feature and the size of the broach. There is a little bit of math involved, but I'm doing the 4 corners first and not the 4 flats first, as shown. Fresh out of the mill, we're going back in the lathe to put the last ball on here. Last ball is 156. That's about 4 millimeters-ish. And I'm going to do that end to end and then part them off. And I got a call, actually a question this week about my loop. This is a 5-power Bosch & Loam loop with a focal distance of 2 inches. This is Old Faithful. I've had this thing for many, many years and dropped it exactly twice, as you can see. Anyway, let's stick this in a collet, use a variety of form tools to dial in that last round, and then put it together. For anybody curious what the form tool looks like for the first operation, this is it. It's got the radius called out on the print on the inside and the undercut groove width cut right to the tool. Now, yes, I did do a brass piece off camera to set this so that I would get the undercut width and the desired radius diameter all at the same time. So there was no guesswork involved here, guys. This was done off camera. It took about an hour to grind that tool. I ground the radius first and then did all the faces to accommodate the diameters that I wanted. And it was back and forth from the tool post to the grinder a couple of times. And this was done on a pedestal grinder. I used the edge brake on the wheel to do the radius, and laid everything else out with calipers. One of the final steps in this process is to put the back undercut and the leading edge radius feature on the handle. The tool was lined up and shifted. You'll watch the undercut come in as the back ball leading edge forms. There is a stop set in this collet, so I can leave the tool right where it is, remove the part, spin it around without resetting anything, and the feature should be in the exact same spot on the opposite side. Being very cautious with a file, it is time to clean up the inside edge right there. Let's turn that so you can see it. There you go. You can see the asymmetry of the material remaining on the face of that. So this corner right here needs to come in just a little bit more. Both sides. Give me a second to find the appropriate file for that so I don't mess up this nice undercut I just put in there. I'll be right back. Okay, here's a note that may be very useful to you if you're paying attention. When you machine a diameter on a part and you still have some remaining raw stock, this corner right here will probably flare and have a burr on it. So when you flip the part around and try to refeed it into the collet, if it doesn't want to go or it's extremely tight, that would be reason number one. A little quick fix around that: if you didn't hit the part with a file, insert it just a little bit and squeeze it. Or close the collet, not squeeze it. So close the collet and basically force the burr away. Then you can continue. But it is quicker with a file. Left over from the lathe project, I do have a little collar for this. I'm going to put this in a split bushing and finish off the round on this end. Okay, well, things happen, right? I am not happy right now. That was an awful lot of work right down the drain. I'll give you a close-up on the carnage after I finish with this one. As much as I want to use that form tool because it is absolutely perfect, the cross-section at the square is just not going to have it. A little upsetting. Break out the files. Here we go. All right, well, there you go. I'm happy with that. I'm not happy with the mishap before. I'm definitely not happy with that. That's a huge setback. Well, here's the finished assembled product. And a moment of silence for our little broken friend here. I can't tell you how much that hurts. Ah, I should seal that in acrylic and make a pendant out of it and wear it around my neck. The badge of shame. That is a whole lot of work there, right down the drain, man. I am very upset about that, but you know what? Life goes on. The bright side is that I already have the form tools to make another one. So live and learn, right? But there it is. Let's pop that on the end of a lead screw and see what that looks like. See some surface corrosion on the milled part. It's a good excuse to keep these pieces submerged in oil until you're ready to assemble them. But there you go. That's what we got. There will be gears and bushings and collars and washers and screws holding this on, so it will not wiggle when it's done. There's a 2/1000 clearance in there. The end ball didn't come out bad for having been done by hand with a file, at least the outside and the blend. That's about all the fun I can stand for one sitting, so wherever you are in the world, I thank you for tuning in and hope you're well and happy and safe and warm. There's a lot of people getting shellacked right now, but I'll tell you, it is 52 degrees in my shop and it is really cold, so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on something warm, a cup of coffee or something. Anyway, there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Stroh Pyatt Advanced Innovations in Austin, Texas. I'm out.